This is TWiT.
We talked about this last week. AP discovered that even when your location history is turned off, if you launch certain apps, Google will keep track of where you are. I got in a little battle yesterday with Steve Gibson, who says, well, they really shouldn't. And, you know, it's complicated because there are other settings as well, and Google does kind of hide these settings. But they do warn you when location history is turned off that you still will be sending location to Google anytime you do searches. It says some location data may be saved as part of your activity on other services like search and maps. Actually, that's the new language that Google stuck in there last Friday.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't ever seen that, and I turn my location off all the time.
That's different. So you're turning location off or location history off?
I turn location history off, and sometimes I actually, well, now I don't think I can turn the GPS off unless I go into airplane mode. But I used to be able to turn all of my location off.
There used to be a setting that you could turn off location.
I wish, like, I'll be honest, my mom no longer takes her phone with her when she leaves to go places unless how
are we going to find her if she does that?
So my favorite thing is she brings it to places. If she has an online coupon, she needs to show the store clerk. So then she'll bring her phone. But the rest of the time, she's like, no phone.
Well, now Google's being sued by a San Diego man. Activists in Washington are urging the FTC to, and I think this is probably appropriate, investigate whether the company is in breach of its consent decree from 2011. The lawsuit, which was filed on Friday in San Francisco, for representing a guy named Napoleon Patasil, argued that Google is violating the California Invasion of Privacy Act and the state's constitutional right to privacy. They're trying to get class action suit on this. Epic, we talked about the Electronic Privacy Information Center that wrote a sternly worded, according to Ars Technica, 3-page letter to the FTC. This is a tricky one because it's clear that Google didn't really want to make it too easy to turn off location. On the other hand, it's not hard. I don't think it's a stretch to say, well, when you use maps and search, it's helpful for Google to save that information so you can find your way back, so that your search is location based, but ultimately it's in their commercial interest that they save your location information. So I think it's a good thing that this came to the surface and that Google probably will modify its settings and verbiage to reflect really what should it be reflected, which is how to do this and whether you've actually done it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes.
I will say, for a company that wants to suck up as much data as it does, and I will give it full credit for using that data to make a hugely better experience for me. I love it. But I'm kind of like, Google, I'm giving you all this.
Yeah.
Let's work on the trust here.
Yes, that seems fair.
I'll give it to you if you say, hey, this is what I'm going to do with it. When you get all cagey with me, I'm like, oh, well, no, I don't know.
And here is an example of why you might not want Google to always keep all of the information about where you are. And Google's fighting this, but nevertheless, it's concerning. The FBI investigating a spate of armed robberies across Portland, Maine, made an unprecedented request of Google. This is back in March, but it's coming forward now. The feds said, we would like the information of everybody who uses a Google phone or uses Google services who was within the vicinity of at least 2 of these 9 robberies within the 30-minute time frames of the robberies. The space covered is, I don't know why it's in hectares, but it is, and I can't convert, but it's a large area, 45 hectares, includes anyone with an Android or iPhone using Google's tools. And then they said, not only we want a list of everybody who was in that area, I mean, this is a phishing expert. They don't even know that the suspects were carrying phones. This is exactly what the definition of a phishing expedition. Well, let's just find out everybody who was in that area. They wanted to know, of those people in that area within that 30-minute time frame, full names, addresses, Google account activity, all affected users' historical locations. Google did not provide the information, but the fact is they probably had it, right? And we know they had it. And by the way, this happened in March, and they did find their suspect in the end without Google's assistance. But I think this is extremely concerning.
We just had a Supreme Court case on this, and Lord help me.
It didn't. I know, and I can fill you in on the details. It didn't, unfortunately, limit it as much as we would have liked.
Oh.
I thought, and this was all about the guy who'd robbed a number of convenience stores.
Yes.
And
Baltimore?
Yeah, somewhere. And they had ended up getting his location history for a long period of time without using only a pen register. And by the way, I've been corrected, at least in the state of California, a pen register does now require a warrant. So, and I'm sure this request of Google required a warrant of the FBI. That's the sad thing, is I think the court approved it. In any event, the real concern was about these warrantless location searches. And the Supreme Court decision essentially said what they did wrong in that case was they collected too much information, that they were getting days of information. But the opinion implied that a day or two would be fine. It's the days of information that exposed all sorts of other information about the suspect, and that was a violation of his rights. So it did not in any way really limit, in fact, didn't limit this specific kind of search, because all they're saying is we just want 30 minutes.
So what would be interesting, perhaps, is if in this fishing expedition, if like I knew I happened to be there and I was at some sort of dicey location, maybe I was at a Planned Parenthood getting an abortion, or I was at a sex shop or something like that, I could, countersue. I could argue that, this is violating my privacy. I don't know. I mean, but it would be tough because you'd have to have known about it.
That's part of the problem. The ACLU said it's unlikely the average user of Google services would know such government searches were even possible. And another attorney said the warrant amounts to a completely indiscriminate search of a large group of people. This is from an article in Forbes. Even though they limited the search to users who'd been at the two of the locations within certain time frames, that is a general search. It is prohibited under the Constitution.
And it should be. I mean,
You can't rummage around in people's stuff hoping to find illegal material.